I want this to be the last year that you hire your Facebook friend to do your taxes for you. It is a new year, it is a new tax season, and it is about time you stop paying people outrageous sums of money in order to file your taxes, because it's actually a lot easier than you might imagine. So what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Anfernee, and in this video I want to give you a step-by-step tutorial on how you can file your taxes for completely free in 2022. I'm going to go over the standard case that most people should follow. However, at any point in this video, if you think your personal tax situation is more unique, then I would definitely recommend you go consult a professional. However, for the everyday person that gets a W-2 or a couple 1099s, this will be the video for you, so you can keep more of your tax return money in your pocket and not pay it out to someone else. So starting this process off, the first thing that you want to do is gather the tax documents that you need in order to have all the information necessary to get your taxes filed. Now, I'm not going to overcomplicate this part. If you are a W-2 employee, or basically you work for a company that gives you a paycheck and that takes taxes out of that paycheck, you should get a form called a W-2 in the mail. Now, what a W-2 is that it is a form that lists all the specific income that one company paid you, plus all the deductions and taxes that you paid with that company in one given year. This form is very black and white, and the only thing that you're going to need this form in later steps is to copy the information from this form and then put it on your return. And if you work more than one W-2 job, then you're going to need to wait for each W-2 to come in for every employee that you work for in order to file your taxes all at once. However, in today's world, it is very much a gig society. A lot of people are doing side hustles or doing gig jobs in order to make a little bit of money on the side, and you still have to account for this amount on your taxes. So let's say, for example, that you DoorDash on the weekends to make a little bit of extra money. So DoorDashing is not a W-2 income. You're not actually hired by DoorDash, and they don't take any taxes out of the money they give you. However, you still need to account for this money in taxes, and in order to do this, DoorDash is going to send you a form called 1099 that is basically the same as a W-2, and you're just going to use the information on that 1099 form to add to your tax return so you know how much taxes you owe. At this point, you're just trying to gather the documents of all of the ways that you made money in the previous year in order to know your gross income, so that you can then find your adjusted gross income that will be used to calculate how much taxes that you owe. Some other popular forms that you can include on your tax return that you need to gather in this step are receipts for how much childcare you paid throughout the year, receipts for how many donations or how much charitable giving you've given throughout the year, statements about your education costs, and also statements about your medical expenses. All of these things are great to gather in this step so that you have everything ready when you get ready to start your tax return. And once you have gathered all of the tax documents that you need, this next step is the most important step. And honestly, I think it's the reason that 99% of people pay someone else to do their taxes. And the next step that people make a lot more complicated than it has to be is going to be choosing whether you want to itemize your deductions or whether you want to take the standard deduction. Now, I'm going to break down both of these deduction categories to show you that they're not as intimidating as people make them out to be. So first and foremost, let's take the most common deduction type, and that was going to be the standard deduction. In the tax year of 2021 that you're now filing in 2022, the standard deduction for an individual is $12,550. And if you're married or filing jointly, that standard deduction rises to $25,100. But what is most important is what the standard deduction means. When you file your taxes, every single US citizen gets to deduct certain expenses that lower the amount they pay tax on. And throughout the year, when the government takes money out of your paycheck, they often take too much out during the year, and when you go to file your taxes, they didn't give you the money back that you overpaid. And the reason why most people overpay is because they qualify for specific deductions that are not accounted for until they actually go and file your taxes. And these qualifying expenses that you can deduct from your income can range anywhere from childcare, education expenses, mortgage and interest expenses, and all the way down to medical expenses. And because the government knows that not everyone is super organized and everyone may not keep track of every single qualifying expense that applies to them, what they did was allow citizens to choose a standard deduction, and that standard deduction lowers their taxable income by a set amount. So no matter what their qualifying expenses actually were, they just get lowered by this standard flat amount. So if you want to make your tax return as simple as possible, you can opt to choose the standard deduction because you don't need any receipts to back up your claim. You can just choose the standard deduction, and there will be a very simple, cut and clean way to do your taxes. However, there is a very valid argument to be made of when you want to itemize your deductions. Now, itemizing your deductions is the direct opposite of the standard deduction. When you itemize your deductions on your tax return, you are telling the government exactly what you spent on certain categories, and if you feel like throughout the year you spent more than the standard deduction amount, you will be able to lower your taxable income even more and therefore save even more money on what you owe to the government. And as I said earlier, some of the most popular items to include on an itemized deduction are childcare expenses, education costs, medical expenses, mortgage interest expense, and also you can deduct the amount of any charitable contributions that you gave throughout the year. However, the only issue I have with most people doing standard deductions is that you have to have proof or receipts of you spending this money just in case the IRS comes and audit your return. You don't want to say you spent $30,000 in a year on your tax return and then don't have any receipts to back that up. So if you're a person who's thinking of either going a standard deduction route or choosing an itemized deduction, I would say to do some rough math, and if you think you spent more than $1,050 a month combined between childcare, medical expenses, mortgage interest, education expenses, and a few other categories, then it is worth taking a second second look on whether you should itemize your deductions. However, if you're trying to file your taxes as simply as possible and get your refund back as quickly as possible, then going the standard deduction route may be more suitable for your situation. And the next step to take when filing your taxes is to know and understand what your filing status is. So I'm pretty sure that everyone has heard of this before, but your filing status can be broken down into 4 main selections. The first selection is single. This basically means that you are unmarried, widowed, legally divorced, or legally separated, and you didn't have any dependents in the previous tax year. Or you could choose to file as married, filing jointly, and this basically means 2 people who are married are filing their taxes in one combined return. If you do this, you have to do the same steps, gather all your W-2s and any other supporting documents, and then do the exact same process. As I said earlier, it's pretty much the same, other than the standard deduction is double the amount for a single person because you have 2 people filing on one return. After this, you could choose to file as married, filing separately. This basically means that you are legally married but filing 2 separate returns. And after that, you can choose to file as head of household. Now, filing single and filing as head of household are pretty much the most common filing selections for the low income community because historically people choose just not to get married all that soon. And if you have a dependent, you can't file as single, you would have to file as head of household. Now I say that, but let me break down filing as head of household because it can get a little bit more complicated. So in order to legally file as head of household on your tax return, you would have to have paid 50% or more of your household expenses in the previous tax year, be unmarried, and also have to have a qualifying child or dependent. So if you are a single parent who pays most of the bills in your household, then you can file as head of household and you will be open to more tax credits because of that. So once you've done all these steps, now it's time to actually file your return. And this is also the part that people make a lot more complicated than it has to be. Most people don't know that if you really wanted to, you can simply mail your tax return form to the IRS to the address listed on the IRS website. Most people don't do that these days, however, that is an option. It does not cost anything to submit your tax return to the IRS. So let's go through some quick stats here. 50% of people hire a tax professional in order to file their taxes for them. And this is mainly because most people feel taxes are too complicated and they would rather pay someone else to get rid of the headache rather than figuring out the process themselves. But also with that, 43% of people use a self-filing software in order to get their taxes filed. And this is the part I really want to focus on. The IRS offers a free file software for people that make less than $72,000 a year in order for you to get your taxes filed for completely free. Now, there are some other great self-filing softwares out there like TurboTax. However, they charge about $40 for a federal return, about $40 for a state return. But if you did truly want to go the free route, you can go to irs.gov and use their free filing software in order to file your taxes for free. And the best thing about using this software is that it does just what this video does. It walks you through step by step on what information you need, and also it calculates exactly what your return or what your tax liability will be. Unless you have some extremely complicated tax situation, filing your taxes should not be an extremely stressful process. All you have to do is copy the information sent to you, add up a few numbers, write them down, and then you're set to go. The thing about the IRS is that they won't tell you how much money you owe, but if you pay them too little, all of a sudden they will know the exact amount that you owe to them. And after you file that return and you're waiting to get your refund check in the mail, the best thing that you can do right now is prepare for the 2022 tax year and go ahead and start to get yourself organized so that next year may not be as complicated. One of the most crucial steps that you can take right now is to make sure all of your addresses are up to date so that when your previous employers want to send their W-2s to you, that they go to the right place and that there's no delays in that category. Also, you want to print out your 2021 tax return, keep all of your W-2s in a safe place so that if you want to take out a mortgage in the future or if you want to get out a big loan and they want to see your previous 2 years worth of income, you'll have all that stuff in one place and not have to go searching around everywhere for it. If you only work one job during the year, then keeping this stuff all together is simple. However, it does get a little bit more complicated when you start to include 1099s, investment income, and any other gains or losses that you make from investments. But I do think that if you do stay prepared during the year, then this time next year you'll be much more prepared and be able to handle your taxes without any hiccups at all. However, if you still feel like all of this is too complicated, then I would definitely recommend you go see a tax professional in order to get everything done as accurately as possible. But if you are an average person who worked a couple average jobs and made a little bit of money, then I would definitely recommend trying to do this yourself because it is somewhat free and knowing that you figured something out that you thought was complicated for so many years. But I hope you really did enjoy this video. If you want to make a little bit of free money, then go down to the description below and sign up to Public. It is a brokerage app, and if you sign up and create an account, you will get a free fraction share of a stock of about 9 different stocks to choose from, and all you have to do to get it is to create an account. But if you did enjoy this video, go down and change the light color for your boy, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.